Welcome to the VC3 News Update. I am Shanette Hackshaw with the top local news stories. On May 26, the Eastern Caribbean Central Bank, under the powers enshrined in the Banking Act, placed the First St. Vincent Bank Limited into receivership, a decision that was not taken lightly, according to Governor of the Central Bank, Timothy Antwine, as he spoke to local media earlier today. Speaking at a press conference held at the local headquarters at French's Gate, the governor said the decision was taken in the public's interest and in pursuance of the Banking Act.
The decision to put a bank into receivership is a very serious decision, has to be predicated on the public interest, and that is precisely what we have done. In our deliberate judgment, the First St. Vincent Bank was failing, and there was no prospect, immediate or near term, of a turnaround in the situation.
The governor said the ECCB acted in the public's interest, particularly in respect to depositors and creditors, to ensure the preservation of financial stability. According to him, this means that First St. Vincent Bank is now closed, and in due course, the banking license will be revoked. However gloomy this is, there is still some good news coming out of the situation.
The depositors and customers of the First St. Vincent Bank now have the ability soon to continue to resume their banking services through the Bank of St. Vincent and the Grenadines, which has graciously accepted our invitation to acquire certain assets and liabilities of First St. Vincent Bank. Now, I want to be very clear. When we make a decision in respect of a resolution, we have to decide, on which institution can acquire certain assets and liabilities. And in our deliberate judgment, Bank of St. Vincent and the Grenadines was able to demonstrate to us that it had the financial strength and capacity to undertake this assignment, and so we invited Bank of St. Vincent and the Grenadines to do that.
The governor also sought to address the question many may be asking: why the Bank of St. Vincent and the Grenadines?
When we make a decision about resolution, we have to look at the possible acquirers. The history of First St. Vincent Bank is very clear. This is the oldest bank in St. Vincent and the Grenadines. 1909 is when it started, an indigenous bank. And therefore, I think it would have been passing strange if we did not, in fact, consider our indigenous options. That is what we've done. When you consider your options, you have to look to see financial strength, you have to look to see capacity. One of the very important things for us is the fact that the IT system used by Bank of St. Vincent and the Grenadines is very similar to the IT system, the core banking system, I should say, used by First St. Vincent Bank. Why is that important? That is important because it reduces the transition time to move the assets and liabilities from First St. Vincent Bank to Bank of St. Vincent and the Grenadines.
The governor further explained that this means the affected customers will have faster access to their funds, a motivating factor for the ECCB in terms of how they have structured the transaction. As of Thursday, June 1, customers who have been transferred to the Bank of St. Vincent and the Grenadines will have full access to their funds of up to $100,000.
I want to be very clear that when we say up to $100,000, if a customer has $1,000 in First St. Vincent Bank, that is being transferred to Bank of St. Vincent and the Grenadines. $5,000, $20,000, $25,000, $30,000, all the way up to $100,000. And I'm saying that because it appears that some people are not clear whether it means only $100,000. Anything below $100,000, depositors we have identified will be moving. So the truth is, over 90 or around 90% of all depositors in this bank, First St. Vincent Bank, will be migrated to Bank of St. Vincent and the Grenadines.
The ECCB head said this is good news for the customers, as not only are they moving to a strong institution, but they will also soon have access to their funds. The ECCB has appointed joint receivers for the winding up of First St. Vincent Bank, one of whom is David Collins of Interpat East Caribbean Limited, to assume control of and secure the assets of First St. Vincent Bank for an initial period of 6 months. Agriculture and Fisheries Minister, the Honorable Sabato Caesar, is commending the fisher folk of this country for the excellent work they continue to do. The minister was at the time addressing the annual Fisherman's Day activity held at the Kaliokwa Plain Field yesterday. The minister said the fisher folk often brave challenging weather conditions to ensure that fish is available for sale and consumption. He also noted that food security is important and therefore fish should always be affordable, accessible and available in this country.
To develop any country, there are 4 simple tenets which must always honor. There must be a clear political will to do what is right. The laws must be in place to ensure that that political will is honored. You have to mobilize the resources, meaning you can't only talk, you have to go and get the money to implement the things that you're talking about. And the 4th one, but very important, is the implementation.
The Argyle International Airport, which was opened some years ago, has seen an increase in confidence in investors in the fisheries sector, noting that prior to this achievement, there was uncertainty among investors.
So we had the political will to build the Argyle International Airport, constructed it, and we made a very strategic move after opening the airport. We recognized from day one that the government, the state, it has a very important role in fisheries. But it is of first importance that we create an enabling environment for the private sector to partner with the state so that we can build the fisheries sector.
Minister Caesar said that he can proudly say or boast that throughout the OECS, SVG has the most and best quality fisheries centers between the government and private sector. Davian Marquette said of Clare Valley was announced as Fisherman of the Year. He brought in a catch of 644.81 pounds with his boat, the Defender. He carries home a 75 horsepower 2-stroke outboard engine donated by Rainforest Seafoods. And in related news, during the course of the rest of 2023, the Ministry of Agriculture will be going to different communities throughout the island to speak to fisherfolk and organizations, because before the end of the year, the ministry wants to make some significant amendments to the Fisheries Act. This was disclosed by the Minister of Agriculture, Sabato Caesar, while he was addressing the Fisherman's Day activity on Monday.
Because as the industry continues to evolve, we must also see an evolution in the rules and regulations governing the industry.
Mr. Caesar said it is important for those in the industry to have the ability to harness the resources of the blue economy. He said his administration embarked on a fleet expansion program, and the program they have with the Kingston Cooperative Credit Union is oversubscribed and has 130 pre-approved applicants.
We have already delivered several boats, and as we speak, we have 5 companies sourcing pirogues to bring to the fisher folk in the country. And I want us to pay careful attention to this. It is important that these companies, that they do the work in sourcing the boats, because when you buy a boat and you want it repaired, these companies also are willing to stock the parts to repair these boats. And for the fleet expansion program, the government will be putting in 20% of the value of the pirogue. You will be asked to put in something Some of the off-takers are willing to put in up to 2.5%. And when you sell them the fish at the end of the program, when you finish paying back the KCCU, they will take back their money in fish.
The program, he stated, would bring significant opportunities to many young fishers throughout the country. He is encouraging those who applied and have been approved and getting their boats to do what is honest and what is right. Still in our local news stories, St. Vincent and the Grenadines has become the 86th country to benefit from diplomatic relations with the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. Last Friday, both countries signed 2 loan agreements, which amounts to $16 million. Speaking at the ceremony on Friday, this country's Prime Minister, Dr. Vincent, said that after several conversations between the 2 countries, there has been a commitment to developing a strategic relationship going forward. The Prime Minister went on to say that the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia is a vital leader in the Middle East, having built themselves as a nation that is not dependent on oil, which is its principal export.
Saudi Arabia is a major country in the world and certainly a vital leader in the Middle East. And they possess critical resources, natural resources, principally the petroleum, the oil industry, but there's much more than that in Saudi Arabia, and they have built themselves to a point where they are not, quote-unquote, dependent on oil. They have invested wisely, and they are building their country into a very modern, developed country, but grounded in tried and tested values of the Arab civilization and the magnificent component represented by the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. This is vital for everybody to grasp and understand.
Dr. Gonsalves said that SVG has been seeking to build a relationship with Saudi Arabia for some time, as that country has supported 2 of this country's efforts in the international scene, namely SVG's bid to sit on the United Nations Security Council.
We have been seeking to build these relations for quite some time. And I want everyone here to know that a very strong supporter of St. Vincent and the Grenadines in our bid to sit on the Security Council of the United Nations when we had the elections on the 7th of June 2019, a very big supporter and campaigner for us in the Middle East. I met the Arab League at the United Nations, and the Saudi ambassador spoke very forcefully for St. Vincent and the Grenadines. And every single country in the Arab League, including and led by Saudi Arabia, voted for St. Vincent and the Grenadines to be a member of the Security Council. I take that as being very important. Similarly, they supported us very strongly the year before when we became the president of the Economic and Social Council of the United Nations, one of the major bodies at the United Nations.
His Excellency Ahmed Al-Khatib of the Tourism Minister of Saudi Arabia, speaking at the event, said that this is the 2nd visit to SVG, the first after the COVID-19 pandemic. He noted that after that visit, a number of requests were made, and those requests have been fulfilled with the signing ceremony.
We came last year after COVID to show our commitment and to listen to our friends, planning and aiming to expand our friendship and relationship with the countries in the Caribbean in general and here in particular. We left with many requests under the direction of the Honorable Prime Minister, and today we fulfilled all the asks and requests from both parties.
The two agreements, with a combined worth of $16 million, will aid in the construction of a health center in South Rivers, valued at $6 million, while the remaining $10 million will be used in the construction of a cultural, artistic, educational hub and market craft at Bellevue and a satellite hub in Petit-Bodau. That has been our local news stories. We'll have regional and international news when we return on Channel 114.